Welcome back. This is the second video of the two-part series where I promise to show you how one of my portfolios went up by $759,000 in a 4-month period while I slept like a baby. Now, this was the composition of our portfolio in December 2018 when the markets severely corrected. The 29% which are parked in treasuries, those funds are actually kept liquid because we sell a lot of put options, and those funds are available to cover these options in case of an assignment. So as you can see, 63% of our portfolio it's a concentrated portfolio where we own about 6 businesses which we have identified, we have been researching for a long period of time, and we really like these businesses. And we actually want to own more of these businesses. We want to buy more shares at suitable opportunities, which actually December 2018 provided us. So to be able to do that unemotionally, what we do is we sell put options, the notional value of which was about 29%. So we sell put options at strikes which are way below our estimate of the intrinsic value of these businesses. And if these options get assigned, then that's perfect. We get to buy the shares at our desired prices. Whereas if these options do not get assigned, we still get to keep the premium, right? And we only sell options when the premium is juicy enough. So we typically have been getting a yield of over 20% on our options, and that's a pretty good return on the cash. So that is like earning a dividend on the stocks even before owning the stocks. And because the funds are parked in treasuries, the maturity of which is matched with the expiry of the options, so the yield get boosted by another, 2 to 2.5 percentage points. So this is how we structure a portfolio, and you can see that we have 3 distinct sources of cash flows. First is the dividend on our stocks. Our stock portfolio generates a dividend yield of about 2%. The next, which is a significant component, which are the option premium. And the premium that we receive, plus the yield on the treasuries where the funds are actually parked, they amount to anywhere between 20 to 30%. So these 3 are the components of our source of cash flow. If you are in a regular job and if you have a salary income, then that gets added to your source of cash flow. A lot of people have other sources of cash flow like rental income from their real estate or maybe royalty income. This cash inflow has to cover our expenses. And the difference is basically our operating income, which I talked about in the previous video, which Mr. Buffett asks every shareholder to focus on. So what we need to focus on is this operating income and not the market volatility of the portfolio. Now, in short, in December 2018, Mr. Market offered us opportunities for increasing our positions in some of our businesses, where we used our liquid cash to buy more shares. Some of our option positions got assigned, and we ended up with additional shares at predetermined prices. And as you can imagine, when the market corrects very significantly, it causes a lot of stress, right? People get very emotional, they get very flustered. Whereas for us, it's very important to stick to our plan, and our plan is to acquire more shares in the businesses that we love at discounted prices. And that is what these put options allow us to do. Apart from that, the kind of businesses that we prefer, they have very strong balance sheets. They have very little or no debt on their balance sheet, and they sit on very healthy cash balances. So during the times of market corrections, these businesses also, they go and do share repurchases. And we typically prefer businesses where the CEOs have been proven to be good capital allocators. So this picture kind of sums up what actually goes on. So the left-handmost bar is our source of cash inflows, and the red bar is our outflows. So the excess cash which gets generated every period, that gets added to our cash holdings, our short-term cash holdings, which in turn gets deployed during periods of market corrections. And that's exactly what happened in December 2018. Now, the chart above, that basically shows our, it's a representation of our equity portfolio. And as you can see, the green band on the top, that indicates the cash balance, basically our share of the cash balance, which is sitting on the company's balance sheets. And during market corrections like these companies do their share buybacks. And that sets the compounding on steroids, the long-term compounding on steroids. So we actually love situations like this where there is a severe market correction. Now, the effect of the share buyback at a discount to the intrinsic value is lost on most inexperienced investors. Now, people who have watched my videos, they would have noticed that whenever I mention buyback, I always add at a discount to the intrinsic value. Because a buyback, when it's done at a discount to the intrinsic value, that adds value to the share. But if a buyback is done at an expensive price, is higher than the intrinsic value of the business, that destroys value for the remaining shareholders. Now here, let me give an example of JD.com. That was our largest holding during 2018 December, when the market correction happened. The share price fell way below our average purchase price. But because we had liquid cash, we took the opportunity of adding to our holdings. We bought a lot of shares. And along with that, even our option positions that we had written, we actually had taken advantage of the high implied volatility in JD, and we managed to get very juicy option premiums. These options, some of them also got assigned, and that added to our holdings in JD, and that was done at low 20s, which was in our calculation, which was below the intrinsic value of the company. To give that example of how a lot of people do not exactly appreciate the concept of a share buyback and the effects of it. So yesterday, JD announced their results, and they announced very good results for the Q1 of 2019. This lady that I know, she commented on one of the WhatsApp groups, "Oh, I'm hoping that the share price goes up." But what she completely failed to appreciate is that right now JD is going through a massive share buyback. A few months back, they announced their board approved a buyback for $1 billion. So it is in our long-term interest that JD's share price remains depressed. That way, JD will be able to buy back more number of shares with that $1 billion. Whereas if the share price shoots up in the short term, then fewer shares get bought back, and that's not in our interest. As you can see, I'm not popping the champagne just because my portfolio's market value has shot up since December 2008. It is totally immaterial in the short run, and it is very possible that it might go down again. See, I do not try to predict market prices. However, the things which I do control is, number one, the kind of businesses that we own, the kind of option positions that we take, which allows us to unemotionally acquire more shares. Last but not the least, I also get to control my expenses. So as long as my cash inflows are covering my cash outflows, I'm fine, and I can be completely insulated from the market volatilities. And that factor allows us to sleep like a baby. So if I simplify the whole thing, it looks like a flywheel, a beautiful flywheel, where I use our excess cash to collect more shares of the businesses that we like, which in turn enhances our cash flows because my dividends increase. I get to use the cash balances to sell more put options, which also enhances our cash flows. And that in turn goes and adds to the excess cash that's available for us. In reality, what I should have told you is that I can show you how I enhanced my cash flows over time without bothering about the market volatility. This is the right way for us to think as investors. If you have enjoyed my videos, please remember to like, share and comment below, and also remember to subscribe to our channel. And hey, do visit our blog moneywisemart.com. You will see a lot of interesting content that we keep updating.